That was very powerful. Really got to me. So my name is Jordan Mazariegos, and I am with Dream Act Oklahoma. And Dream Act Oklahoma is a community-based organization that aims to fight for the immigrant Latino community through advocacy, education, and the story of self. So the story of self has been, I'm gonna walk around a little bit because standing here makes me more nervous. So the story of self is our biggest use of action for when we go and speak to legislators, when we talk to people who don't see the issue the same way as we do. And I want to start by that. So I came into the United States at the age of 2. It was my second birthday when my parents took the brave, decision and hardest decision of their life to come to the United States. They came here illegally, and I grew up. We arrived in California, and I grew up in Oklahoma. So I've been living in Tulsa all my life, and this is where it all began. So growing up, I was naive. I didn't know what undocumented I'd never heard the words criminal, illegal, wetback, beaner, all of those words. I never heard of those words until middle school age. And it was then when I started asking those questions. What does that mean? Why is that? Why do I feel hatred when I hear those words? And as I was learning that, I started to get resentful. I started to build hate, and in a way, I was very thankful that I asked these questions, because I felt that I was starting to internalize this racism, and I started to believe it, and I started to say, well, I am this, and so I guess this is who I am, and I can't do anything about it. And this is one of the things where I thank my mom, I thank God as well, because she has, I grew up in a Christian home, and similar message as Reverend was saying, she taught us that we have to, she always told me, you have to keep going, you have to educate yourself, and you have to, fight for it. So that is what I continue to do. And I've never been a victim of overt racism. No one has come up to me and said, I've never had that experience as Reverend, but the experience that I have had here in Tulsa, growing up, has been more of interpersonal, cultural appropriations, and more like assumptions and stereotypes of my type. It was funny because even yesterday, I received the invitation a couple of days before, but yesterday I had an experience, I had an interaction with someone who his first question was so where are you from? And I looked at it and I was like, I'm from Tulsa. And he's like, no, where are you originally from? And I was like, I'm from Mexico. I was born in Mexico, which is, that's the truth, I'm not lying. But the question that he was saying, it was of course, the way I looked already to him was I'm not from here. So I was like, I was born in Mexico. He's like, yeah, that's what I thought. He's like, I have some friends who, and he started saying I grew up in East Tulsa, and I have some friends who are from Mexico too. And I was like, okay. And I just looked at him. I didn't want to say anything. And he went on to further say, he's like, are those your kids in the back? And I'm like, no, I don't have any kids. And so at this point, I was I didn't want to say much. I was just thinking in my head, dude, please be quiet. Just don't say anything else. But this is what that experience is what I see. You know, that was yesterday. Previous experience has been like, oh, hey, so what's your name, Juan or Jorge or Pedro? No, my name is Jordan. Oh, actually, yeah. So yesterday he was like, what's your, I told him my name and he's like, Jordan. He's like, no, is that your real name? And I'm like, yes. And he's like, do you pronounce it like Jordan? Because like, and I'm like, no, you pronounce it Jordan. And this is funny. It is funny at that time. Like, you know, think about it. It is funny, but at that point in time, had that happened like my middle school age, I would have laughed with them. I would have said, you know, yeah, you know, it's funny, whatever. But now that I know more, I started to, I didn't want to associate myself with him because he was to me now, he's part of the systemic racism that I feel is going on now, in which the labeling and the stereotyping of my kind, my type is okay. Like, it's okay to say, oh, well, you speak Spanish, or try to talk to me in Spanish without, you know, saying, oh, hola, hola, and really, like, try to speak some Spanish. It's like, no, you can talk to me in English. Like, I speak fine. You know, and so that is my encounter with living here in Tulsa, and it is frustrating. It is frustrating because I don't believe that they're doing this with the ill intent, but I do feel that there is a lot of ignorance and that comes with those comments, and yeah, like, it's kind of like, it's draining to constantly having to almost try and correct them. And really, one encounter, I wish it would make the whole difference, but it doesn't. And it really, and when the media really focuses on a person of our, like, you know, if one of our Latino community members commits a crime, the media will go all over it, and that's it. So we're labeled as that. We're portrayed now as all Latinos, all undocumented immigrants are that way. And so it's very hard to create that change when the focus is there and not so much on the positive side. That's where, like I said, most of my experiences come. And for me, the way it's hard to kind of start that conversation with someone if you really want to get to know them. So what I say, instead of saying, oh, like, yeah, that's what I thought, instead of doing what that guy I met yesterday did, instead of approaching it that way, be more interested in ask instead of assume. And I think that's the best way to try and get to know someone. To not say that, oh, you know, that you proved my assumption right or whatever. So that for me is, if you want to get to know someone from anyone, it doesn't have to be Latino. It can be anyone who's a minority. And just because, you know, we look a certain time, it's not that we're specifically from a certain country. So that is one of my, you know, instead of this, do that kind of moments. And so through Dream Act Oklahoma, we've dealt with more, I guess, overt situations. Like I said, we've protested, we've done counter-protests with our last counter-protest with the immigrant refugee child crisis or situation. I don't know why I called it crisis. But there was a group like a Tea Party group who was protesting against these children, and we stood on the other side of the bridge protesting for the children. And so more recently, some members from our chapter in Oklahoma City went to the border in El Paso, Texas, to advocate for our immigrant families. So that is what we do. And I want to thank you all for the time, and thank you for letting me be here.